Spirituality Speaks. My name is Melissa Bromack, and tonight we are interviewing the lovely Michelle Potter. Now, Michelle, what is it that you do so everybody at home can know what they're looking for when they click your linkies?
Okay, I'm probably best known for my pastel spiritual art on TikTok, but I actually do a little bit of a lot of things. So I'm an energy worker. I'm a Reiki master, so I do a lot of energy work, and
I know
art.
it's kind of all-encompassing.
There's nothing I won't try. Put it that way.
Which is what I love about you, and I love watching your channel, like specifically for that, because guys, when you go to her channel, you'll see there's a little bit tidbits of everything and videos of a little bit of everything, and it keeps it fresh and new, but also reminds us that you don't have to be stuck to one medium as artist. I mean, I'm myself an artist. You don't have to be stuck to one medium. You don't have to be stuck to one, process. And I think the same thing goes with spirituality, because you don't have to be stuck to one way or ritual or person's writing. It's all by feel. And I actually got the idea to invite you to come on the show, which I was so excited. Guys, she said she'd already watched stuff. That was exciting. But I was like, oh, when you did the video saying people had asked, like, how do you do your spiritual guide drawings and how do you connect? And you had spoken about every individual person having kind of their own process. And I was like, that, yes. She must come on the show and explain that. So when you do spiritual guide drawings or spiritual pastel drawings, how do you get into that section of connecting? Because everybody's experience is different. There might be someone at home that connects to some of what you do.
When I first started drawing, the images used to come to me in a very different way. So initially, I would pretty much just tune in to the person that was coming to me, and I would start getting names. The best way I could describe it is flicking through a photo album. So I would see images in my mind, I flick through a photo album, and then all of a sudden this image would pop up and I go, oh, okay, right, that's what, yep. And then I would go and resource myself with pictures and do like not a dream board, but I would do a little board of inspiration. And sometimes I still do that, but the images come to me differently now. So that's how I used to do it. Now, the only issue with that was I would get woken up by spirit in the middle of the night. So it would be like, hey, hang on a second, guys. And I think at that time too, I hadn't quite mastered all right, I need to sleep now. Please don't interrupt that time.
Yes, talk about that, please. So some people don't even know to do that, right? So I think it's important when we're all starting out, we all go along our journey and learn these different things. So what do you do kind of every night when you need to shut off or shut down? Because guys, FYI, you can ask them to be shh.
Well, that's basically exactly what I had to do. In the end, I had to say no. Between the hours of 10 and 6 a.m., please don't wake me up. Occasionally still I do get someone, but now I think that, and I'll just say, I'll sort of tell you a little story. I went to visit somebody, and when I had come home from them, they had quite an elderly dog. Oh. And they said that they had to get somebody in to do some healing on the dog because the dog was quite after I'd been there.
Oh my.
I didn't realise that I had a whole zoo behind me because I wasn't really closing off properly. So it's all these little experiences because, you know, you learn along the way.
It's so true. So true.
Yeah, I had that like a whole zoo. And at the time, and I've still got the gorilla, I was working on this giant gorilla. And, of course, this massive gorilla was, and because she mentioned the gorilla, and I went, oh, and as soon as she did that, I went, oh, I'm not closing off the animals specifically. So, yeah, so I just learned along the way that I was like, okay, this is what I need to do in order to open the circle, close the circle, send that energy away. And quite often someone might come back to me in a couple of years and go, oh, remember this sky drawing you did for me? And quite honestly, I can't. I have to go back and have a look at it because once I've let that energy go, it's gone because I can't. Some energies I love working with, and I might maybe postpone the drawing a couple of days because I just want it sitting on my easel and having that energy in the space.
Oh, they're beautiful. I love them.
But then others, I'm like, oh, I'm quite happy to let this one go.
That's, you know what? And that's so true. Because even with readings, when I'm channeling for readings, because I do cards, but energy readings, that kind of thing. And for me, I've always found that as a tool more than anything else for the client, right? For the client to have a visual, physical, something or other to go with what I'm saying to them, to validate them, right? So I've always used different types of cards or tools that way. But I always tell them, bring a pen and a piece of paper, because if you message me 2 days from now asking a question, I'm going to have no idea what we talked about or what I said.
Yes.
You can sometimes jog my memory. A lot of the times not, because I've cut that cord and moved on with whatever the next piece is, right? Now, I guess that would be kind of a question that I've had a few spiritual people on this channel now as a Reiki master, because I have 1 and 2 and 3, and it's just interesting for me to see myself, the difference between energy work and Reiki, because a lot of people use the word Reiki just because now it's what people know it as. Yeah. But in reality, for those of you that don't know at home, Reiki is a very specific process, a very specific practice of energy work. So is there any way you could explain a little bit about what you do with that and how you came along the path to become a Reiki master? That's an accomplishment, so it's great.
Yeah. I'm a butterfly. And like I said earlier, I don't think I like to box myself into anything, because part of what spirituality is to me is just finding that light within myself and just expanding it and expanding it and expanding it and expanding it. And then going, oh, what else can I do? Because
I love that.
I never ever say I can't do anything, because I don't know whether you know a little bit of my background or how I sort of came into doing what I do now.
No, please tell us the story so we know.
Yeah. I probably started on this journey maybe in my late 30s. And it was, I think, as women and mums, I'd had my kids. I was sort of at the second marriage. I had my kids, and then all of a sudden it was like, what's my purpose? And you know, like, I've got this and I've got this and I've got this, and I'm still not happy. So where do I go from here? I ended up, and you know, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. I actually bumped into somebody that I knew that was doing classes. It was not like a women's circle, but it was like a self-awareness meditation class, but it was more about self-help. And so I started doing this class, and I was probably, I would have to say about 18 months into this class, and we were doing a goddess workshop, going through all the different goddesses, and we chose a goddess to work with at the start, and I pulled Kali.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was in for. 39, I was diagnosed with stomach cancer. So just after we were still working within the goddess stuff, and I was diagnosed with stomach cancer at 39. So a week after my 40th birthday, I ended up going in and having a full gastrectomy. So they removed my entire stomach, and a few other organs.
Love how easily you say that, though, right, guys? You need to understand this woman here is a trooper. Like, there's no question.
You want to see some scars?
Right.
That's not a scar. So I've been through chemo. And if you've ever, anybody that's had any type of gastric surgery, they would know that the process of healing is 12 to 18 months. You have to learn how to eat again. You have to learn how to, I dropped an enormous amount of weight. So I was literally becoming light. And I remember when I had started, I'd met this person and I was talking about sort of awakening as such. And he had said to me, every part of your being will ache. Like it can be a brutal process.
Sometimes, absolutely, yeah.
Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it
can
could
be.
be. Obviously, this is what I had to go through to do and let go of everything that I had to let go of to be able to do what I do now. So I do not regret anything that I have had to go through and the pain that I've had to endure. And the moments of getting wheeled into surgery and not knowing what the outcome was going to be, knowing that I had, a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old and a husband, and how was I going to manage, what was going to happen, like this, just moving into this unknown. But through all of that, I was able to find me. So as bad as you could get, because every part of me ached. It wasn't just the grieving process of my own life, watching my body change. I became like this little waif of what I used to be, having to have that acceptance of the friendships that I lost through that grieving process. So I would have to say my dark night of the soul happened when I was 40.
Yeah.
So I've had, sort of like another 11 years on top of that now. And through that time, I have just gone, what can I do that's going to bring me joy, and how can I give hope and purpose to other people? So this all just evolved by me finding different ways to be able to heal myself. And that is how I stepped into Reiki, because I know that at some point the student needs to become the teacher. Yeah. And I want to be able to pass on what I know to other people. And Reiki, compared to the different type of energy work with the spirit guide stuff that I do, is I would just have to say it's just part of my toolbox. So, you've got different branches of the tree. So some people use, a cooking as a craft to heal the soul or nurture themselves.
So true.
It's just all just little, it's just a branch of the tree. So if I want to go, if I'm guided at a particular point in time to go, you know what, I actually think I need to start this spirit guide drawing session off with a little bit of Reiki before I start. Because maybe there's something in that for the person that's actually come to me. And that's why all of my drawings, I've got a style, but all of my drawings are very different, because everybody that comes to me
different
comes with a different thing. So you shouldn't, and that's what I would probably look for someone if you were looking at spirit art. I mean, obviously everybody's got a style, but you know, if somebody's seemingly bringing through the same figure all the time, it's like, well, to me, it's like, oh, but hang on, I know, yeah, unless that's the type of people that you are attracting.
Yes.
Which I really don't have to advertise, because it's
true. It's so true, though. But you bring up something important, okay? Because although it's difficult and uncomfortable sometimes to talk about, there are a lot of people out there that are spreading a lot of misinformation just to try to get money, or try to, like, you know, guys, Michelle's not the type that is ever going to contact you and be like, I felt this and I'll give you a reading. And that is, if a spiritual person of any nature ever contacts you and says, I was drawn to you for a reading, I've been doing this. I mean, I'm only 37, so I'm just like, pardon my French, but I am just getting there, right? But I'm in my comfies today. We are just au natural. But it's like, you know, I mean, I'm just getting there. But I've been doing this now for like 15 years, like half my life, and I've never been drawn to ever approach someone and say, you know, you need to get a reading from me. So for me, be very careful who you're paying your money to, be very careful who you are, you know, going to for readings, because there are a lot of people that, yes, do live TikTok readings that are legit, and some of them that do live TikTok readings that are not. You should never, you know, be getting like one card pulls. Like one card's not gonna give you anything. Doesn't give you very much information, guys. It's pulling a lot from one very small portion of a tool, right? Which is why even on this show, I always make sure I get, you know, I've been watching Michelle for like well over a year now. I've been like, she's seen Romance Studios on everything, and she's been phenomenal about, you know, she shares, she interacts, she's got funny stuff, but educational stuff, which is nice too, you know. But it's always a joy to watch your show. And so where can people find you if they wanted to book with you? I know you should probably mention your time zone if people haven't noticed from Michelle's accent and where you are from.
Well, I'm from Melbourne, Australia. So we are on sort of, well, we're not, I can't say the bottom end of Australia because I'm not. Tasmania's the bottom end. I've been corrected. So, but we live in the coffee capital. We make really nice coffee down here. And we have penguins. So, but if people want to book all of my readings, I actually do via distance. Now, the reason why that is the case is because my drawings can take 4 hours, 3 hours, and that is just the actual drawing itself.
Not the prep and the shit.
Yeah. Well, I do an oracle reading along with the drawing, as well as any guidance that comes through with the drawing.
Oh, beautiful.
So that I do because of my my health, and I've got to just, everything's a bit of a fine balance with my energy levels. I do it normally over about a 3-day period. And at the moment, I only do one drawing a week. So I do other stuff during the week, but I've got a family and I've got my own health that I have to look after. So that's but I do them via distance. So, and you get everything via email, and I send the original paperwork to you in the mail. But so there's no sort of live, I don't talk through stuff that's just not how I work.
And that was one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here too, is exactly that. Is because it's having a variety is the spice of life, right? But I try to explain to people, it's like, come watch the show, because you're going to get, some people aren't comfortable with that. Some people do not want that. You know, there are lots of people in this world that have health issues that are trying to really protect themselves right now. and not have a lot of face-to-face stuff, which has been in some ways opening up more doors for those of us that do everything virtually most of the time anyway. But like, when you guys see everything on TikTok, she's already sent it to the client. Like the client's already seen it and received it,
Yes.
and then you see it on TikTok. So don't worry, you're not gonna be outed.
But I also ask for permission too. So when you fill out the booking,
yes, of course.
yeah, when you fill out the booking form, it is totally up to you. If you don't want your art on my socials for personal reasons, I never associate. No, this drawing is for, I don't do that. I very rarely put anything about the reading, unless it's something that's sort of obvious, like a lotus.
Yeah.
Then I might put a little quote about a lotus or something like that. But I will never, ever go into details about what the actual reading was for, who it was for. And I always ask for the client's permission. If they say no, then that's fine. I'm totally okay with that. So that's something else that that you might like to know. And if it was a gift for somebody, then I will make sure that if I don't have their email address because it's a gift, I will do a hard copy or print off a hard copy, and that will go with the client. And I'll say to them, look, contact me and I'll send you through a digital copy. So you can just go to the links through the digital copy and stuff. So I think that's really important as well, that even if you're giving a gift to somebody, that as the person that's paying for it, you don't necessarily get to read it because it's not your business.
Correct. And privacy is number one always. And that was kind of always my disconnect to doing lives and readings on lives on TikTok. I've been getting a very big call to start doing it, and I'm like, okay, because I do it a bit different than most people do. It'll end up taking me longer. It just is what it is, and that's okay. And I'm not going to rush anything, right? But it is very public. So
Yes.
it's, there's been times when I've been in a group reading and some things come up, and I've been like, okay, FYI, here's my card. Some more information for you for later.
Yes.
You would like to contact me privately, because there are some things that just respectfully you just don't do. And it's just unprofessional, right? And I love that you think of that, and that's what really I think attracts a lot of people to your page, is that you're compassionate and caring and funny and human and all that stuff, but you're also very respectful and very professional with what you do, which shows a lot as far as integrity goes, which is one of the things that draws me to you. And you always make me smile. This whole interview, my face is going to hurt from the smiling, because you're literally, you're just infectious, your energy. And I love it. And I'm sorry, I'm going to sound like a fangirl here, but I'm doing it anyway.
Okay. Fan away.
Fangirl, right? I love it. But like, so here's one last question before, as we're, getting to the end of the wrapping up and all that jazz about spirituality. For me, I always like to ask all of my interviewees to talk about one of the less desirable things that has happened to them during ascension. Now, I understand for you, yours kind of came right at a time where there was lots of undesirable things happening with your body. So it might have been hard to decipher what was from what was from what, probably all meant to be at the time, but I can only imagine. So every time I see one of your videos, I'm always like, healing, self-love, self-care. I always send you all the jazz because as myself, I have fibromyalgia, so it's very like a small part of what you deal with, but I understand the body not functioning the way you want it to thing. And that is hard mentally, as like not only physically, but also mentally. But we like to talk about some of the funny or quirky things that happen to us during ascension, because I find that everybody tends to have one or another funny of a story of something that totally changed for them as they were going through this process, whether it be like couldn't eat meat anymore. I've had people that like they get sexually aroused when their nose tickles, like legitimately. There's been all the way from here to here. the story. So I'm curious, is there anything you can think of on this process that has changed for you on the daily?
I think anyone that goes through any type of major trauma,
Mm-hmm.
there's always that it has to change you. It has to change you. I think I used to take a lot for granted as far as taking care of myself. And I know now I'm literally like a fine-tuned engine. So, but having a gastrectomy, you can eat something one day and then you will try and eat the same thing the following day and it doesn't agree with you. I've definitely had to find my humour in all of it. And I always say, no matter how many body parts they take out of me, they can't take out my sense of humour. Although the start of this year nearly crushed me, I think. I had a very COVID and just the heaviness of the grief on this planet. I had to disconnect from a lot of that, I think, because I think it was just really affecting me to the point where everything was overwhelmed.
Thank you for talking about that, because I think a lot of, you're not the only one that has experienced that this last couple of years here.
I kind of almost still feel that I'm still just I'm poking my head out the door every now and again and kind of going, oh, is it okay to come out yet? So making the most of every day is probably the biggest thing. Actually getting in touch with my feminine side is the other side of this as well. But just that playful childlike part of me, which has probably always been part of me, but just being a little bit more like Teflon when it comes to things that I used to involve myself in that I just won't attach myself to anymore. So that's probably been the greatest part of this process for me, has gone, do you know what? Is this really going to matter in 5 years that person cut me off at the traffic lights? Is it really worth getting that rage and that anger and that and that reactive? Is it? Nah, let it go. Wish them well. Have a great day.
You're right.
Send them some fuzzies. Send them some warm fuzzies. Nothing specific, but definitely through that whole process of coming through a gastrectomy and having to go through that cancer process, but then also finding out I've got a predisposition to gastrointestinal cancers through a genetic DNA thing. It is a lifelong thing for me that never ever take anything that I have got for granted. Everything can change in a phone call. Everything. I've obviously got I've got my own codes of integrity that I keep for myself, and hopefully just with what I do, I spread a little bit of laughter and smiles and and be you. If you are you authentic you, then you will attract the right people to you.
It's so true, guys. We've talked a lot on this show about finding connections and going online and Facebook groups and all the jazz and stuff like that to find a safe space to explore your gifts and to, experiment and see what other people do and take what resonates for you. And Michelle's 100% right when she says, like, you have to trust yourself. Like, if you look at this entire interview, play back this entire interview, everything that you've said today really boils down to a base of trusting yourself. Because the moment that you can get to that space where, I don't know if we're all 100% ever, right? We all have days where we question, but if you can mostly trust yourself and what you're feeling and what you're thinking and going with that path, it's amazing how much that guy that cut you off doesn't matter anymore, because you don't care, because you have so much peace in your life and you have so much calm in your life and appreciation and gratitude for every moment of, hey, that's a beautiful rainbow or that leaf tumbling along. And I know it sounds silly, but it's so true. And when you take those moments of gratitude, they hit you deeply in your soul, and you start to trust yourself more and more, and you grow, and more you can get to that space of learning, gaining knowledge, sharing knowledge, helping others to ascend and have safe space. All of a sudden, our planet has all of these people who feel safe to be themselves.
Mm.
And could you imagine what we could do, as a collective consciousness, as humanity, on a whole, if we could get the majority on board here with being okay with being oneself, and I'm okay with how you're with oneself, and how Mary Sue down the road is oneself, and everybody just, if you want to practice this way, practice this way. I do it this way. That's okay. You want me to teach you how to do it this way? Perfect. Great. Right? Like, you want to learn, and then you want to take it and morph it into your own, even greater, because who knows, maybe I'll learn something. And being open to that spread of knowledge. I think it's great. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you so much. It was so cool to have you on, and exciting
Thank
and
you.
nice to talk to another artist, and nice to have someone on the show who has struggled through adversity and come out with this such a positive, inspiring outlook. And it reminds all of us, guys, every day to be grateful for the small things in life that you have, because at the end of the day, I mean, I hate that it could always be worse thing, but in reality, it could. And so be happy and grateful for the little things. Doesn't stop you from working your way to goals, but be happy and grateful with right now and in the moment, and be amazing how much you'll shoot up, right?
Yeah, well, it happens. And understand that when you're in those dips, that that they come back up, but you learn when you're in the dips. And the more you learn while you're in the dips, then next time that dip comes, you'll kind of go, oh, hang on, maybe it won't be quite as, it'll be up here a little bit more, because you go, I'm not going to make the same choices that I made last time. I'm going to make different choices this time.
And the growth, exactly. And that is amazing and phenomenal. Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up here, as we do need to end the interview for today. But thank you again for coming on. We're going to take a deep breath, and then we'll close it off. And until next time, guys, we'll make sure to put her website and everything down in the comments below. Go check it out, and get yourself a reading. Follow all her socials because she's hilarious. Anyways, so I'll just take a deep breath.
I'll pay you later.
And thank you for joining us on this journey. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. See ya.